SKA. Let's talk about SKA. It's interesting because some people don't even know what it is. Are you ready? Some people don't know what it is. People that know me, you ask anyone that's known me since forever, i.e. before I came to Vietnam, before I went to China, all my life since I was 6 years old, I've been a huge SKA fan. Literally a massive, die-hard, lifelong SKA fan. All started when I was about 6 years old. Being the youngest of the family, my cousin, he played me a Madness record called The Return of the Lost Palmer 7. It's an instrumental, and released I think either 1980, possibly 1981. I was like 6 or 7, and it was a 12-inch single. It came with a comic, a Madness comic, the Nutty Boys comic. In fact, it was issue 1 of their comic. Shut up. And so he did. So it was, as a kid, reading the Beano, with Dennis the Menace and Minnie the Minx and all that kind of stuff, to see a comic made by a band that you liked the music of. And funny enough, Madness, they all have funny names. They've all got nicknames, Suggs, Monsieur Barzo, Chrissy Boy, Bedders, Kicks, Woody, and Chaz Smash. I was intrigued. And on this 12-inch single, there was a live version of Swan Lake, a song called That's the Way to Do It, and a kind of a demo version of My Girl. And I loved it. Nobody told me to. Nobody said, oh, you must like this kind of music because it's really cool. I just loved it. As a 7-year-old, possibly 6, possibly even 8, I'm not sure, but as a young kid, to just immediately love a style of music that nobody told me to. I just heard it and thought, yeah, that'll do for me. I thought that's the music for me. And strangely enough, The Return of Lost Palmer 7 isn't even SKA. It's I don't know, it's Madness's own style. But I soon discovered that, obviously, I bought one of their albums, saving up my pocket money for like a month back in the day. That's how long it took me to walk to the beach from near my house. So I was intrigued. So I think the first album I bought was Absolutely, which is actually Madness's second album. And I loved it. It had baggy trousers on. It was the first song on side 1, and I loved it. And then I bought the One Step Beyond album, and of course I loved that as well. And it's like, for a kid to love a kind of music from a really, really early age, just because I heard it, and I've been fascinated by SKA ever since. In fact, it got to the age of like maybe 19 or 20 before I discovered like the old Jamaican stuff. I'd heard of Prince Buster, obviously, because Madness, One Step Beyond is a song by Prince Buster, as is, Madness, they call it Madness, it's a song by Prince Buster as well. As is Gangsters by the Specials. I discovered the Specials shortly after discovering Madness, and I believe Gangsters by the Specials is a kind of a cover version of the B-side of One Step Beyond by Prince Buster. And so yeah, all my life I've been massively into SKA. So, like back in 2010, when I got a phone call from my cousin, another cousin in Cambridge, saying there's a band here called Big Ten, a 10-piece SKA band, looking for a drummer. Are you interested? And I was living in London at the time. And I'm like, fucking hell, of course I am. Of course I'm interested. So I went for an audition, and he said, can you play Embarrassment? I said, I've never played it before. Let's go. And I played it, nailed it first time. He's like, how do you know how the drums go? And I'm like, well, if you've heard a song 100,000 times, and you've never sung it, but you know what the words are, you can probably sing it. If you've heard a song 100,000 times, and you're a drummer, and you know what the drums go like, but you've never drummed it, you can drum it. So I did, by listening to all these songs, by the Specials, Madness, Bad Manners, The Selector, The Beat, you know, the Scatterlights and Prince Buster and all this kind of stuff, Desmond Decker, or, like, listening to these songs all my life, I instinctively knew how to play them all on the drums, despite the fact I'd never played any of them before. So I joined Big Ten. I used to travel up from London to Cambridge every weekend, do gigs. We got paid £1,000 per gig. There's 10 of us, we got £100 each every weekend for 5 years. Needless to say, I was doing quite well in the financial department, but it gave me years of practice, 5 years of playing these songs every weekend. It gave me, I know how to play these songs on the drums with my eyes shut, which is why, I'm guessing, I can sing them. I've never been a lead singer in my life, and the only reason I'm the lead singer of Looney Tunes is because nobody else knew the words. I wanted Lucas to be the lead singer, and he's like, I haven't got the British accent, which is quite amusing. But so I kind of I knew all the words, most of them anyway. I knew how to sing and play the piano because Paul Sheehy, as our ex-guitarist, made me sing and play the piano at Crazy Cats, which is why I kind of learned to do this playing and singing at the same time. So I decided to bring ska to Da Nang. It's amazing because after the gig on Saturday at Section 30, I've had so many compliments. People like, fucking hell, Dan, you've created like a scene. You've caused this like massive kind of musical, you've set like a difference now in Da Nang. The music scene has just got loads better. It's like, how's it possible that from the very first gig it was rammed, and then every other gig since then it's been rammed? And it's like, there's other musicians in other bands that have been in Da Nang a lot longer than I have, saying we've never seen this before. We've never seen a band start, and it's caused such a kind of stir, such a kind of a frenzy from day one. I mean, there's like 250 people at the gig on Saturday, and that's no word of a lie. There might even have been more. It's just incredible to think that, it's not. I haven't created this. We have. I just had the idea. It's great to take credit and say this is my band, which it is, but it's everybody else's band. It's not. If you take away 9 other musicians, it's just me and a drum kit singing. That'd be crap. So it's thanks to all of them for coming and saying, as I said in that other video I made a few months ago, when I messaged everybody and said, do you want to be in this ska band? They all said yes. And it's like, no one else is playing ska in Da Nang, and everyone loves it. I always thought I would be the only person that loves ska. It's interesting when you fly across the world and you find out everybody else does as well. And to make a 10-piece band, it had to be a 10-piece band because I was in a 10-piece band before, even though the Big Ten had 3 singers and 3 brass. So to have 5 brass, it's crazy that the first 2 gigs we just had tenor sax, alto sax and trumpet. And then Kaz messaged me on Facebook saying, I'm a Japanese trombonist and I love ska, do you want a trombone player? I'm like, fuck yeah. And then, lo and behold, it's like buses, getting on for ages, and 2 come at once. We had Alex, and I got a message off Gabby, our bass player, saying, new trombonist in town, come to my house immediately. So I did, and it was like, right, we played Scaravan and a couple of tunes with Alex on trombone, and like, bloody hell, he's good. Do you want to join our band? He's like, yep. So we became a 10-piece band, almost like kind of by default, having 2 trombones in a ska band and a 5-piece brass section. I've never played with a 5-piece brass section before, ever, and the sound is so amazing. It's so incredibly good to have 5 people playing brass, and it's wonderful. I love ska forever. Ask anyone that's known me since infant school. Yeah, Dan's a fucking massive, die-hard ska fan. Like, used to spend all my pocket money on buying Madness records, back in the day when vinyl was the only option, or taping it off the top 40. All my life, in my family, Madness are known as Bloody Madness, because I've been pretty much obsessed with them since a kid. I've probably seen them in concert, no word of a lie, about 100 times, maybe even more. When the Specials played their 30th anniversary gigs in 2009, I went 5 times, I think, 4 or 5 times, 3 nights on the run, and then a couple of other dates I did later on in the year. and it was crazy. You know, the Specials were only around for like 2 years, 1979 to 1981. Then they kind of disbanded, and they waited 28 years to do another gig. Needless to say, that first gig at Brixton Academy was absolutely mental. And yeah, you know, bands like Bad Manners, I've seen them play loads of times. The Selector played in a small club in Blackburn where I used to live, called Jazzy Keks. And I'm thinking, bloody hell, the Selector playing in Blackburn, like as if. And I'd never seen him before I went to that gig, and they were amazing. You know, the Selector and the Beat. I saw the Beat about 2 years ago in London. Ended up sitting on the tour bus with Dave Wakeling, the lead singer, having a spliff, like you do. And I've just been, you know, like, there's something about the music that just makes you want to dance. There's something about it. And obviously being a piano player as a kid, I started learning drums when I was 14. So hearing Madness as a kid, there's a bit of a river there, I've got to change my direction. Hearing Madness as a kid, whilst having piano lessons. I started having piano lessons age 4. So, you know, anyone that knows Madness, their main instrument and their founder member, Mike Barson, is the piano player, and he's like the key songwriter of the band. So to be hearing your favourite music, which has got predominantly loads and loads of piano in it, whilst learning the piano as a kid, you know, hugely influential on my life. You know, I remember learning how to play a chromatic scale on the piano, and then lo and behold, the next single that Madness released was called Shut Up, and it starts with a chromatic scale going down and going back up again, and I'm like, blimey, I've just learned how to play these at piano lessons, and now all of a sudden my favourite band have released a song with this in it. You know, chromatic scale, if you don't know, is going every single note down the keyboard and then back up again. And so you know, Madness have influenced my life more than they'll ever know. I've met them all many times. I've slept at the saxophonist's house, you know, Lee Thompson. I actually was almost in a band with Lee Thompson. I went for auditions because I know his son. I'm friends with his son daily, and as I'm looking for a drummer. In fact, funny enough, I met Lee Thompson's wife outside the Dublin Castle, which is like the Mecca, you know, the Madness Mecca. It's like the, you know, the what's it called, for the Beatles playing at the Cavern. It's the same. It's, you know, the Dublin Castle in Camden Town is where Madness first got their first gigs and their first kind of what's it called? They got you know, they played there every month. They got a residency at the Dublin Castle. But I was sitting outside the Dublin Castle a couple of years ago, just chatting with Lee's wife. I knew Lee's wife, and she just happened to mention, "Oh, Lee's looking for a drummer." And I'm like, "Really?" She's like, yeah, get in touch with Daly and organise it. So I did. I went for rehearsals, and it was amazing. And it was like, right, yeah, that's great. You're in the band. The next day, I got hit by a car and broke my right foot. So I had to sack that idea off. Funnily enough, I was in a wheelchair with a plastic cast on my foot, and I went to see this band that Lee Thompson is in. Not Madness, he's in another band. In fact, he's in 2 other bands. I went to see him, and I'm sitting outside this park near King's Cross in a wheelchair with my leg in plaster cast. Who should walk along but Lee Thompson and a guy called Stuart Wright, and they both pushed me in a wheelchair into the gig because it was like an uphill, like the entrance to the gig was an uphill, and he's like, "How are you going to get in the gig?" I'm like, "I don't know, do you want to push?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I got a push from Lee Thompson, the sax player of Madness, into a gig, and Daly's son was like, "I saw that, it looked hilarious, Dad pushing you up a hill." But yeah, you know, it's funny because, like, you know, by not getting to be in that band, and then by coming to China, and then by coming to Vietnam, you know, when I arrived in Vietnam, in Hanoi, if you'd said to me in June 2018, "Oh, you're going to be in a 10-piece ska band in Da Nang," and I've never believed you. I'd have said, "No way, you must be joking." But when I arrived, and I thought, no one's playing ska, I have to make a ska band. It's not like I had a choice, like should I, shouldn't I? I had to, because I've always known how good ska is. And it's interesting that people have never heard of it. Like, bloody hell, I love ska. I've never heard of it before. And I'm so glad that I'm sort of, or we are kind of, you know, getting ska to a new audience. You know, there's plenty of people out here that have never heard ska. Plenty of people, even some members of the band, had never heard of Madness or the Specials before. And that's great because you know, you bringing this music to a new audience. And what's better than that? You know, it's like, it's incredible to see people at our gigs, to see how many people come to each gig. It really is quite inspiring, and it's very humbling as well, you know, to think that, not me, you know, people say, oh, you've created this scene in Da Nang. It's like, well, we have, you know, I just had the idea, you know, it's, you know, just through me having this taste in music as a kid, and then following it my whole life. You know, I've followed Madness's career since day one, you know, and they split up in 1986. I was gutted. You know, their keyboard player left in 1984, and their songs just didn't sound the same. But then in 1992, as some of you might know, you know, the Madstock, their first gig for like 8 years, that was my first time I saw Madness in Finsbury Park. I wasn't even living in London. I went down there on a coach, and to say it was incredible would be an understatement. You know, your first ever Madness concert, I think I was 19 at the time, in 1992. Yeah, I was 19, having loved Madness since I was 6 or 7. So I had to wait 12 years before I saw them live. But then after that concert, they kind of reformed and have been playing ever since. You know, this is their 40th anniversary this year in the UK. They've been touring all over the UK and the world, and I've missed every concert. But it's like, what better time to bring a ska band to Da Nang than the 40th anniversary of Two Tone? You know, it's for me personally, it's like a dream come true. You know, like when I left Big Ten, because I was moving around. I lived in London, I lived in Cambridge, I lived back in London, and things weren't going quite so well in my personal life, and so I left Big Ten. But to come to Vietnam, you know, and then just think, I've got to make this band again. There's no way I'm going to live in Da Nang watching other musicians play other music, which I love. You know, East Side All Stars being my favourite band. You know, I can't go to one of my own gigs, so I go to watch them. You know, like, I'm a big funk fan as well, you know. Funk, ska, reggae, hip-hop, soul and jazz, all that kind of good black music I've always loved. You know, ska has been my absolute favourite all my life. But, you know, to get these musicians, you know, there's so many great musicians in Da Nang, so to get them all to be in our band, it's like, bloody hell. You know, who would have known that this would have been a possibility, you know? I procrastinated and put this off for not years, for months. Like, yeah, I'll start a ska band one day. In fact, funny enough, I was chatting to a guy called Adam at Section 30 on Saturday, and he said, I remember meeting you in heaven one afternoon a few months ago, and you're like, I'm going to start a ska band. I'm like, yeah, I remember it. I remember talking about that, yeah, before it even, you know, this kind of like dream had even begun. He's like, I remember you clearly saying I'm going to start a ska band. And he's like, he's from Birmingham, like not far from Coventry, where the whole two-tone scene begun in the UK in 1979. He's like, man, you've brought our favourite music to Vietnam. I was like, yeah, I brought my own favourite music. You know, it's crazy to think that this music that I've loved all my life, it's now possible to play it on a regular basis. You know, like singing and drumming at the same time. It's brilliant. I love it. You know, it's like, I didn't know I could do that till I tried. You know, people are like, how the bloody hell can you sing and drum at the same time? I'm like, well, I've kind of know the words inside out, and I know how to play these songs on the drums inside out. I do it with my eyes shut. And most of the time when I'm singing, I will admit, I do have my eyes shut. You know, I'm kind of got my sunglasses on. I just find I can sort of reach the top notes. You know, it's I mean, I love watching the audience dancing and stuff, but when I'm straining for the high notes, you've got to shut your eyes and sing. But I just love it. You know, it's like, it's mental to think that we have created the scene in Da Nang. You know, I mean, I think we've done like 15 or 16 gigs, I think. We started on June the 19th, and today it's September the 23rd. I think we've done 15 gigs, so like 5 a month. You know, it's not too bad. And it's a, you know, 10-piece ska band. And everyone loves dancing to it, you know, like, I've been to see some musicians playing in Da Nang, and there's maybe like less than 20 people in the audience, and half of them are sitting down on Facebook on their phones, you know, and it's like, how are you not dancing to this music? You know, this music is great. And so to get a band together that's like massively popular from day one, and it's like, you know, just to see hundreds of people all jumping up and down to music that you're playing is such a massively brilliant thing. It's like, my God, look at what we've created. Look at what's happening in Da Nang's music scene just by an idea that I had in my head because of a musical scene and a musical genre which I've been passionate about all my life. It's like, you know, someone said to me, oh, you've brought ska to Da Nang. You know, you've sort of like brought this fucking amazing music to Da Nang, and like, you know, when you see people coming every time. But, you know, like, interesting story this, I went to see the Scatterlights. The Scatterlights being like the founding ska band in Jamaica from the 60s. You know, all the old dudes, probably most of them are dead now, but they're all in their sort of 70s and 80s when I went to see them. And they're still rocking massive venues and, you know, getting people skanking all night long kind of thing. And so that song, Phoenix City, that we do, you know the one, that song. And when they play it live, you know, I've always loved that song. I've always loved that song. You know, like I've had it on record, on vinyl for years and years. I've always loved that song. So when I was choosing the set list, I'm like, we have to do that one. Now, I think we first played it just a regular kind of song. You know, there was no sing-along, low bits. And I was like, you know what, I've seen the Scatterlights in concert several times, and every time they play that song, they do that bit, they do that vocal kind of bit at the end, everyone sings along to. And so I suggested this at rehearsals one day, or in the group chat. We have a Looney Tunes group chat on Messenger, and I suggested that I should sing this this vocal melody after everyone's done their solos on the brass. I suggested that we should do this this extra vocal bit that everyone can sing along to, and the general response from the band was, nah, I don't think it'll be very good. It'd sound a bit cheesy. You know, I'm like, no, it'll work. I promise you, it'll work. I've seen the Scatterlights do it, and everyone sings along. Lo and behold, it's become our sort of signature theme tune. And, you know, like Igor, thanks to Igor the Engine, who instigated this kind of sing-along encore at Heaven, when we played at Heaven in July. He kind of instigated this this thing where everyone just starts singing that bit again. And like completely off the cuff, unrehearsed and kind of like spontaneous, we started to play that part of the song again at Heaven. And then like every time since, it's been a kind of a, right, it's that song, let's do that again. And it happens every single time we play it. We sort of just do that bit of the song because Igor gets everyone like crouching down on the floor. And and it looks so good from the you know, band perspective. You get all the audience just sitting on the floor or like crouching down, like squatting down on the floor, singing along. Like it goes around maybe like 4 times. And everyone just like jumps in the air, and the band just kicks off again and starts off with that low, 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 low. And it looks amazing. It looks so good. It's like our you know, like our theme tune. It's like a gig won't be a gig unless we play that. So we started doing that song last, and it's amazing. You know, I'm so glad I had that idea to do this sing-along bit, because it clearly works. It's clearly brilliant, and everyone loves it. And it's a song that everyone knows us for. You know, I get people going, "Are you going to play that song? Are you going to play that song?" It's like, of course we are. Why would we not? It's like one of the best songs that we do because I don't know, just audience participation. It's incredible. It's so good. You know, I never thought this would ever happen. You know, like even when we did that gig at Heaven, I never thought that would happen. It's just like a completely spontaneous thing. And now it happens every gig, and it just gets bigger. When you have like 250 people all crouching down on the floor, and all of a sudden we go ding 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 ding, and they all jump up in the air and start singing along again. It's amazing. So nice one, Igor, for instigating that, because it's so good to watch. It's so good to watch from the drums especially, because I'm at the back of the band, so I get to see all the musicians and all the crowd all going mental and all singing along. And it's like, what a cool thing to witness. What a great thing to be able to do this on a regular basis. You know, like everyone's always saying, "Oh, did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it?" I'm like, fucking hell, of course I did. Like, imagine doing this. Imagine being able to drum and sing in a band that I started, and like just watch the audience response and just watch the crowd at the gigs just jumping around and having a fucking great time. It really is a massive, massive dream come true for me, you know. So I'm so grateful. Everyone that comes to our gigs, everyone that's come to see us and said, like, bloody hell, Looney Tunes, like the best band in Da Nang. We've been described as the best band in Da Nang, which is crazy because there's so many great musicians here. You know, it's like, I guess it's kind of a spectacle to come and see 10 musicians on stage. You know, because as far as I'm aware, there's no other band in Da Nang that has 10 people. You know, when I first started it, people go, "Oh, you won't make any money." I'm like, It's not about the money. It's never been about the money. Like, you know, if you're going to make a band only to make money, then you're not passionate enough about the music that you're playing. You know, I was like, I don't care if I never get paid. You know, I'm doing it because I love ska and I love to hear it. I love to play it. I love to sing it. I love to watch other people dancing to it, the stuff that we're playing. You know, it's like going to see a gig. I've always loved going to see gigs of all genres, not just ska. I've seen so many gigs in my life. You know, it's like a learning curve. You're watching how other performers perform and how other musicians play, especially watching drummers. I remember watching the SKA play at the Jazz Cafe in Camden Town and shaking hands with the drummer Lloyd Knibb, who's passed away a few years ago, but shaking hands with the SKA drummer who's created this kind of offbeat, you know, rhythm, which I studied and learnt because it's just so different. It's not like the two-tone beats of like Four to the Floor kind of thing, or like you know, Madness's signature kind of shuffle type of beat. It's like it's like, I don't know, it's so easy to play and it's so good with not just the drop on the kick drum. It goes, there's no pattern to it, it's syncopated, it's so different, it's not the same every time. You know, it's just like listening to these records all my life. I just instinctively know what the drums do. It's really interesting. And yeah, ska. Aren't you glad that I love ska? I am. You know, it's like, thank God I'm not into heavy metal and I decided to make a 10-piece heavy metal band. Thank God that didn't happen, you know, because no one would come. That's what I think anyway.